Welcome back. A group of veterans stormed Parliament Hill last week, trying to prevent the closure of 8 Veterans Affairs regional service offices. They scheduled a meeting with Minister Julian Fantino on Tuesday evening, but tempers flared when the minister showed up late.
That's absolutely untrue.
Well, of course, you're going to say that.
I was attending meetings to champion some issues on behalf of veterans.
Yeah.
I'm not in a position to disclose those right now.
Of course not. That's your usual way. You don't disclose anything. You were closing down the places and didn't let us know until 2 years after you were in.
The program services and support for veterans is unparalleled. There are some gaps.
Hogwash.
Okay, fine. Thank you.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
I have to. I read your.
The confrontation angered veterans.
I would like to call for Mr. Fantino's resignation.
The minister apologized the next day.
I absolutely regret yesterday's events, and as I did last evening, I apologize directly to the veterans, and again, I apologize now.
Hey, hey, ho, ho, Fantino gotta go.
Despite that, continued calls for his resignation, but the minister says he's not going anywhere.
We've always been there for Canada's veterans and their families, and we will always be, and I'm not leaving.
Leading the fight against the office closures, Canadian Forces veteran Ronald Clark from Sydney, Nova Scotia. Mr. Clark, did Minister Fantino personally call you and your colleagues to apologize for his behavior?
No, I'm afraid he didn't. He had his one of his big boys give me a call, but I wasn't home anyway. I was in Ottawa at the time.
So, I mean, he only had a political aide call you to try to apologize, and when he couldn't get a hold of you, he never called you back.
No, he did not.
So what do you make of that? I mean, he got up in the House of Commons, he read a statement, said he was sorry for this and regretted his actions, the way he treated you and other veterans, and yet he didn't personally have the nerve to call you.
No, I believe he was forced to make that apology in the House. I don't think he himself was up for apologizing. If he was, he wouldn't have had one of his flunkies call me at the House. He would have done it himself.
So you think the Prime Minister put a gun to his head and get up in the House of Commons and read the statement?
Now, you said that, I didn't, but I agree with you 100%.
Okay. All right. Now, the closures went ahead on Friday. The minister says he's not leaving his post as Veterans Affairs Minister. So what do you do now? I mean, nothing changes.
Well, that's not quite true. Mr. Fantino has put himself in a fix. He's running around now like a chicken with his head cut off. He's calling the veterans stupid when he says that the union is leading us against in the charge against them, which is a crock. He's trying to, I think he's trying to deflect from the problems he has, and by calling us veterans stupid, you know what we want. We want them out of there now. We don't like being called stupid by anybody, and especially not by the minister who is supposed to be looking after us veterans.
Well, now they do say that, as you said, they're calling you guys the pawn of the Public Service Alliance of Canada, which is the union that runs these shops. They apparently don't want to lose any of these veteran centers. So, and I did see some of the union people shepherding you and your colleagues around. So, do they have a point here, Mr. Clark?
Well, as I have been saying, and I continue to say, if it was not for PSAC, we would not have been in Ottawa, and that's correct. And it was their money that got us there. But it's not the union that's running this show, it's us veterans. We organized the first, second, and third rallies by ourselves. It was during that period of time that we contacted the members who worked for us at the office here in Sydney, and we were told that if we were to contact the union, that they may be able to assist us. So that is what happened. We contacted the union, and the union were willing, I guess, because if they kept the offices open, their people would be able to keep a job. So they They were willing to help us, so that's how we got to Ottawa. And yes, they were shuffling us around, and thank God for that, because we'd have never made it on our own.
Okay, now the government also points out that in Sydney, there is a Service Canada office 3 blocks away from the closed Veterans Office. That doesn't sound like a hardship to go 3 extra blocks. That's what they're saying. So I put the question to you.
Yeah. No, that's not the hardship at all. Cripes, that's not the problem. The problem is they're only going to have 1 person from Service Canada in that office to look after the veterans. Now that's a service office or a Canada Service person. They're not trained. They don't have the experience, the knowledge. They've never had the courses to look after Veterans Affairs problems. So how is that going to help us?
All right, Mr. Clark, thank you very much for speaking to us from Sydney. Have a nice weekend.
You're welcome, Bob, and thank you very kindly for having me on.